Welcome to our weekly Mitzvah Shabbos program. Next week will be Yud Beis Tammuz. So by Chassidim, the month of Tammuz is called Chodesh HaGeula, because Yud Beis Tammuz is the time the Frierdiker Rebbe was released from prison. Even though the Chazal tell us that Tammuz and Av are months of Avelis, mourning. You know, Tammuz is Yud Zayin Tammuz, and Av is Tisha B'Av. But by divine providence, by Hashgacha Proteus, the Frierdiker Rebbe was released from prison in the month of Tammuz, and by Chassidim it's a happy month, Chodesh Avelis. Hashgacha Proteus Rebbe gewollt. So there are two questions. Why? What's the connection? Why B'dafke Tammuz is Chodesh HaGeula and Chodesh Avelis? What connection does the Geula have to do with Avelis? That's number one. And another question is, why do we make such a union of Tammuz, of the Frierdiker Rebbe is calling it Chodesh HaGeula? Many tzaddikim, Chabad and not Chabad, suffered and went through prison. And we don't make a Chodesh HaGeula. And Dafke by Tammuz, or Dafke by the Frierdiker Rebbe, in the Chodesh Avelis, we call it Chodesh HaGeula. Why? What's so special? So, the Chazal tell us that when Mashiach will come, Tisha B'Av will be the greatest yontif. And as we mentioned once, that the 3 weeks, the first day, Yud Zayin Tammuz, Shivasa B'Tammuz, will be yontif. The last day, Tisha B'Av, will be yontif. And in the middle, it'll be like Chalameid. So it'll be the biggest Yom Tov of the 3 weeks. So now, since we're getting closer to Mashiach, so now it's the eve, the Erev Mashiach, and the Arizal says that on Friday, it should be a minhag to taste something from Shabbos. Some people eat cholent Friday, some people eat Kugel Friday, something from Shabbos to feel a little Shabbos. So by Hashgacha Proteus, we call this month, the month of Avelis, we call it the month of Geulah, because since we're so close to Mashiach, so we're tasting the Geulah. So this is why this month is Dafke in Chodesh Avelis, because it's going to be the biggest yontif. So now we're tasting something which is going to be. Now we know that whenever there's darkness, you get light in the morning. The biggest darkness is before dawn. Before it gets light so now in this is Golus. So in Golus, which is an Erev Mashiach, where is Hashgacha Proteus is Gevorna Chag HaGeula. And that's why by Chassidim we call it Chag HaGeula. But the question still remains, we don't see it by other Chassidim, or by other Rebbes, Why is the Frierdiker Rebbe's release from prison is so great that we call the Chodesh HaGeula? And the Rebbe said, Frierdiker Rebbe, that it's a yontif by called b'shem Yisrael Yechuneh. Every year there's a yontif. It's not only a Rebbe's yontif. It's a yontif every year. Why? So we once spoke that by Chassidim there are 4 Yomim Tovim. This is a yontif for everybody. Bifrat Chassidim. There's a time to fabring. First yontif is the yontif of Purim. Purim Haman, the Goyim wanted to kill the Jewish bodies. Al-Harig b'yom echad. The one day kill everybody. It doesn't matter who. As long as you're Yid, kill them. Kill the bodies. Is geworden an Nes, a miracle. The Eibishter made a miracle. The miracle of Purim. So we got rid of the Goyim. The Goyim saw that they couldn't get rid of the Jewish bodies. So let's go and try to get rid of the Jewish neshamas, souls. That's the yontiv of Chanukah. Chanukah comes after Purim. Lahashkicham teirasecho ulahavirim b'chukei ritzanecho. Learn Torah, but don't learn Torah's Hashem. Teirasecho. If you forget about Teirasecho, then you're hurting the neshama. So that's called getting rid of the neshama. And that was the Nes of Chanukah. So the Goyim saw they couldn't get rid of the guf, and they couldn't get rid of the neshama. What do we do now? Let's go to the pnimis haneshama. Let's get rid of the pnimis haneshama, the essence of the soul. That's the yontiv of Yutas Kislev. Yutas Kislev, Poshet, if not Yutas Kislev, we wouldn't have Chassidus. That's the Alter Rebbe. We wouldn't have Chassidus. Also called Chodesh Agula. And that was the yontiv of Yutas Kislev, that Alter Rebbe went out of prison. The Goyim saw they couldn't get rid of the guf, the body. They saw they couldn't get rid of the neshama. They couldn't get rid of the pinimis and neshama. Let's go and get rid of the Rebbe himself. And this is what Yud Beis Tammuz is. If not Yud Beis Tammuz, Chas v'Sholem, we wouldn't have a Rebbe. And if we wouldn't have a Rebbe, we would not have Yiddishkeit today. If the Rebbe would Chas v'Sholem, we wouldn't have started. It's not that other tzaddik, they went out of prison. It's a big yontiv. But they went out of prison. So there's a private life. Or they have a yeshiva. They made a yeshiva. Or they have, as the Rebbe once said, a hoif, a yard, a satmer a yard, belzer yard, ger a yard. There's no Lubavitch yard. This is a world. Your futzo v'nesecha chutzo. B'shem Yisrael Yechunet. This is what the Frierdiker Rebbe accomplished coming to America. And America is a piece of ice. And he came here and said to break the ice of America. To bring Mashiach. So it's not that Chabad is Chabad. It's a world. So when the Rebbe was saved, this is a Chag HaGeula for Klal Yisrael. This is why it's called Chag HaGeula, a Chodesh HaGeula. Now the reason of this Churban started is because of Sinas Chinam, because there's no love amongst Yidden. The first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. Gilei Arayis, Shvichas Dam, Avodah Zarah. People served idols. So they did tshuva. And they wished to build the second Beis HaMikdash. But the second Beis HaMikdash was destroyed not because of that hate. Sinas Chinam. Sinas Chinam is something that you can't touch it. It's hard. It's hard to do tshuva. Yeah, you do have sinah, you don't have sinah. Sinas Chinam. So to build the third Beis HaMikdash is you have to have Ahavas Chinam. This is what the Frierdiker Rebbe was. The whole union of the Frierdiker Rebbe was Ahava, love. As we see by the Frierdiker Rebbe when he became Bar Mitzvah. Imagine the Frierdiker Rebbe Bar Mitzvah, what he knew. And the Rebbe Rashab asked him, my son, you're Bar Mitzvah today, I'll tell me what you want, I'll give anything in the world. What do you want to ask? Out of everything, you could have asked the hardest in Yonim in Torah, Nigel, Chassidus, whatever. The Rebbe. What did he ask? Why do we say before davening, not in the middle of davening? What bothered him? Love. His inyan was Ava. And that's why he was in prison. Now, I saw a letter, an amazing letter, one time. I don't think anybody saw it. And this is Dafke, it's in English. The Rabbi uses the word, somebody asked him, ahava. Love means ahava. Ahava comes from the word the Rabbi says, have. In Targum, have. Have means give. How does a person, he asked, how can I love somebody I don't even know the person? How can I love him? I love everybody. Everybody. So the Rebbe says, have. When you give, automatically you love. Automatically the person loves you and you love him. When you give tzedakah. When you give tzedakah, automatically you love. There's a love there. When you give somebody a matana, a present. When you do somebody a favor, when you help somebody. Not only that, when you tell somebody good Shabbos, you walk through Shabbos, and you say good Shabbos. Do you know how a person feels? A person feels good. You did a favor, and this brings love. You show somebody a good face. This is called ahava. Kamayim aponim aponim. By Yidden, we always say, Shalom Aleichem. By Yidden always, I tell you Shalom Aleichem. What do you answer? Aleichem Shalom. You answer the opposite. I say first Shalom, and then Aleichem. And you say first Aleichem Shalom. Why? Because you're a Yid, you have to say the opposite. But the truth of the matter is, Shalom Aleichem, the reason why you say Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom, is because we start with Shalom, I start with Shalom, and you end with Shalom. Peace. Have a mitamid of Shalarin, Oyev Shalom, V'raidev Shalom, Oyev es Habriyis u'mekarvin l'Torah. This is what the Frierdiker Rebbe was. This is the Frierdiker with Inyan von Avas Yisrael. So when it comes to Yud Beis Tammuz, Yud Beis Tammuz is the Chag HaGula. So it's not the pshat that the Frierdiker Rebbe, a person, came out of prison, which is a big thing also. But the Rebbe came out, we all came out of prison. It's a Gula for Klal Yisrael. And that's why the Chag HaGeul is bedafke in the Chodesh HaAvelos. That's one thing I want to say. Now I want to say something else today, and I'll finish off with that. Today is also Yud Beis Tammuz. Not today. Yud Beis Tammuz is the yahrzeit of Rabbi Nissim Mindel. Next week, Yud Beis Tammuz. He was born Beis Nissen, that's why his name is Nissen, the yahrzeit of the Rabbi Rashab, and he passed away Yud Beis Tammuz, the Chag HaGeula. His whole life was Rebbe. That's what he worked for. He learned in the yeshiva in Riga, Toilim Derecheretz, not Chabad. The same yeshiva as Rabbi Chadakov. Imagine the Rebbe's secretaries, the two most important secretaries, the Frierdiker Rebbe's and the Rebbe's, came from a chinuch of Toilim Derecheretz. Now, he had a very good head. So the Frierdiker Rebbe was there, and he chose one of the best students to come to him and to write the Tanya, to translate the Tanya. Rabbi Mindel never learned Tanya before. He wasn't Chabad. Later on, he learned with the Rebbe. The Frierdiker Rebbe wanted he should translate the Tanya in English. You have to know Tanya to translate. And if you look in the English Tanya, the last few paragraphs, the Rebbe writes, our Rebbe writes, in the Akdama, in the introduction, that in generations wanted to translate the Tanya and they couldn't until Rabbi Dr. Mindel came and he translated the Tanya. Can you imagine what kind of head he had? When he wrote his thesis, I have his thesis, his PhD, the Rebbe told him to get a PhD. So he wrote his thesis on Tanya. the professors were, days and days, they were amazed how a person can write such a thesis. Can you imagine? He could have been the biggest professor. And the Frierdiker Rebbe told him, come with me on the boat. Come to America. Tanya is a closed book because it's in Hebrew. And the Hebrew is a language that is limited. Not everybody speaks Hebrew. But English, more people, more Yidden speak English. So we need the Tanya should be written in English. And that's how he took the fake Rebbe told him to come to him. I already spoke about it. As a matter of fact, talking about Tanya, in 1962, when the Tanya was printed, Rabbi Mindel gave the Rebbe the Tanya. The Rebbe, his face lit up. That was the time of the Sputnik. And whoever was then the Sputnik. So the Rebbe says, die ganze Welt macht a Tummel von Sputnik. Wir darf machen a Tummel as sie arose the Tanya of English. That's what the Rebbe said then. We have to make a whole big deal. Tanya in English. Why do you make a big fuss of a Sputnik? So the manuscripts that the Frierdiker Rebbe bought then, on the boat to Riga, the Frierdiker Rebbe gave it to the Rebbe, that the Rebbe gave it to Rabbi Mindel together, and they learned together, and that's how he made the Tanya. I remember Rav Posner, Zalman Posner, when he wrote, he said that if not, Rabbi Mindel, he said he couldn't do his work in Tanya, because this was his foundation of the Tanya. And then the Frierdiker Rebbe made him Kahosa, made him Agudas Chassidic Chabad, and Maskir, made the whole thing, until the last thing that the Rebbe, which I'm not going to go into today, the Rebbe called in Rabbi Chadakov, and he called in Rabbi Mindel, and he called in Rabbi Pekarsky, the Arav, and he asked Rabbi Mindel that he should take a pencil and he should write down what he said, and to take notes. And Rabbi Mindel wrote down the notes. And he wrote at Savoy. He told him at Savoy, I have the written from what the Frierdiker Rebbe, what the Rebbe told him to do. This is how close he was to the Rebbe. So therefore, since next week is Yud Beis Tammuz, the Yortzeit of Rabbi Mindel, so v'kitzu v'ran l'sheich ne'ofer v'hu b'soicham, that we should have a lichtik in Gan Eden, and I'm sure whatever he did in this world, I'm sure he's doing the same thing in the other world. In Mitzvah Hashem, next week we'll continue our weekly program. Thank you.